Hey guys, it's Aquaman, and on this week, it's been a wild and crazy week for week 3. Alright guys, welcome back, and on this week's review of week 3, a lot has happened. So much so, I actually had to bring notes for it. Alright, so, at the end of last week, I went into the NOC. This week, I had to come out of the NOC, and met up at the NOC right before I left with Squid. If you guys remember from one of my premiere videos at the beginning, I did a 16-mile hike with a young lady named Sam. Well, got to run back into her, and she now has the trail name of Squid. So it was awesome to see her. Hope to keep running into her along the way. She's a local girl from where I'm from, so it's kind of neat to see hometown people. All right, coming out of the NOC, one of the toughest climbs. It was pretty much just a straight-up 4-hour endurance climb to the top, and was glad that was over. It was pretty intense, but got through that. And along the way, I met up with another young man who hadn't gotten a trail name yet, so I actually got to name my second hiker. He talked about how he was really into parkour, so I gave him a couple ideas, and we settled on the name Flip, because he loves to flip. So for Flip, glad I was able to help you get your trail name as well. All right. The next day that night, I got to stay at my second hostel on trail, and that was at the Wolf Creek Hostel. And nice place, very clean. The owner was very, very considerate, very helpful, had laundry service, hot showers, great bed, and shuttled from trail back to the trailhead. And then the next morning, got up and got to tackle what they call Jacob's Ladder. Now, Jacob's Ladder is a half-mile, almost straight-up climb. It's very challenging, and from what I was told, the climb out of the NOC all the way to the top of Jacob's Ladder is considered one of the top 5 hardest sections of the entire AT. Now, I don't have anything to back that up other than hearsay, but from what I've experienced so far in 3 weeks, I have to believe so far that has been one of the most difficult parts. Let's see, longest hike. So after that, not only did I do Jacob's Ladder, I completed my longest day on trail. I actually did 17 miles so far, and that was actually a very brutal day, but it did end with a very cool stay. It got me into what they call the Fontana Hilton. Now, the Fontana Hilton is actually a shelter that is free to thru hikers, but it actually has amenities like a hostel. So it has hot showers, it has running toilets, it has actual solar power chargers so you can actually charge your cell devices. The shelter itself holds 20 hikers, and it has a beautiful view of the Fontana. So it was an awesome, awesome stay. Had some great company there. People like Jolly Green and Frogman. So I had a really cool time there. From the next day, I got to do the epic crossing of the Fontana Dam. Another thru hiker milestone. A very cool experience. Again, it was just massively beautiful. The experience was breathtaking, and as you cross the dam, you get to look at the Smoky Mountains, because that's the next part. So once I got past the dam, the next cool part was the Smoky Mountains. Now, the first part of that was actually dropping off the permit, which again is a very cool moment, because you've got so much time, you got to get through the Smokies, and it's an iconic moment as a thru hiker. At least it was to me, dropping it off. But then it doesn't play, because you're starting off at the dam, which means you're really low, and you got to climb just straight up into the mountains. And the Smokies don't play. It was a great day, but massive climbs. And then part of that day was actually getting up to what they call Shuckstack Fire Tower. Now, Shuckstack Fire Tower is this metal fire tower that takes many different staircases to get to the top. The winds were gusting. It was sketchy at all get out. Scary. It was hair-raising, thrilling, The views were massively incredible, but again, it was a scary event, going back up and coming down because the winds were just trying to blow you off the staircase. So, cool day, experience. I'm glad I did it. A lot of people will bypass it. I'm glad I did it. Got to stay in my first Smoky Mountain shelter. Okay, and that was cool. It was Molly's shelter. That one was really neat. Stone shelters are all through the Smokies. You got stone fireplaces. It sleeps about 12 people. Just a really neat experience. One thing I was really disappointed is they don't all have privies. So they'll have an area that says toilet area, and unfortunately people aren't really doing what they're supposed to with the cat holes. They'll just go into an area, minefield the area. You see toilet paper everywhere. So it's kind of saddening to me to see that kind of waste out there, but it is what it is, and I can't fix that problem. I wish they had more privies out there, but I understand the Smokies had their reasons for not putting as many privies out. Now, the first night at the shelter, I actually got to see my first actual wildlife, major wildlife. Now, I'd seen a couple squirrels and, of course, birds along the way, but it'd been very odd for almost 3 weeks. I hadn't really seen much life, and then here comes a deer, a huge deer, and he just wandered about 50 yards from our camp, from the shelter, and just kind of did a big orbital circle, and for over an hour and a half, just kind of kept walking around. Nobody went near him. We just let him do his thing, but it was really cool to have this large deer just kind of wandering, just wandering around the campsite. It was really cool. Second day on trail was a tough day. The miles weren't high as it was the day before, but it was just the terrain was so tough and very tough. And then toward the end of the day, we knew rain was coming. Third day hit, and it was out and out scary. A huge storm front had moved through, and it was gusting winds that were hurricane strength, literally blowing us around on top of the mountain. If it wasn't for our trekking poles or mine holding me in place or turning my back to the wind, I would have been knocked over multiple times. The rain was so heavy and so hard, it was literally just penetrating every bit of my rain gear. So by the time I got to camp, it was completely saturated. And that night we had over 12 campers or hikers in our shelter. So we were at max capacity, and every possible space in the camp was covered with clothing trying to dry out for the night. So yeah, that was probably one of the scariest nights on trail so far. Waking up on the next day or the day after the storm, it was a transformed world. The entire area was completely flooded, basically there was nothing dry, and all of our clothes were soaking wet. So we just had to kind of suck it up at that point. Everybody put on wet clothes, and even if you had dry socks, they weren't going to stay dry long because every bit of the trail was pretty much underwater at some point. And but it was a cool day because we entered into the pine forest, and it was a total surreal environment. It was almost like an enchanted forest. Everything covered in green moss. The sun was out at this point. It was trickling through the trees, making everything just almost magical looking. You expected to see trolls and little gnomes. I mean, it was truly a magical looking place, which was really cool. Then I got to a sign that said Clingman's Dome this way and the bypass trail this way. Well, I didn't realize that one trail went this way, one trail went this way. I saw the main trail thinking that was it, followed that for about 0.4, checked my map and realized I was on the bypass trail. So I was going away from Clingman's Dome, which is the highest point. So I had to backtrack uphill, find the sign again, find the white blade, and then make myself up towards Clingman's Dome, which I summited it. There was nobody there. It was an amazing event. Got to see the highest point. It was a beautiful blue sky day with just fluffy clouds. It couldn't have been more perfect. And as you come off the trail or off the tower, there's a little bench, and in rocks there's a number 200. So I'd hit the 200-mile mark. At this point, there's only about 2,000 miles left to go on the trail. Although it is 2,193, I round up, and so that just means I now have 2,000 miles to go. For the rest of that day, made myself off of Clingman's Dome and all the way into Newfound Gap. And at Newfound Gap, I hit another milestone, which is the state line for North Carolina and Tennessee. And so I hit my third state. So it was actually 3 milestones in one day. The highest point, 200, and a third state line, which is amazing. And come to find out, at this point, I've already lost in 3 weeks almost 20 pounds. So this hiker diet thing apparently works. So, all right, guys. Well, that's this week in review. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the trail. Love you guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Hit that notification bell so that way you know exactly when I do drop my next video. And I'll see you guys on the trail. You guys take care.